Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about hydration and minerals. Most people think hydration is simple. Drink more water and you're good. But if that were true, a lot more people would feel better than they do. Because what I see all the time is this. People are drinking plenty of water and are still dealing with fatigue, constipation, brain fog, and anxiety, poor digestion, all the things. So the issue isn't always how much you're drinking, it's what your body can actually do with it. Hydration is not just about water, it's about minerals. It's about what's happening at the cellular level. And it's about whether your body can actually use that fluid to support things like energy production, stomach acid, nervous system function. Because if you're low in minerals, you can drink all the water you want and still be functionally dehydrated. So today we're going to shift how you think about hydration from just drink more water to how do I actually hydrate my body in a way that works? So let's define what hydration actually is, because most people equate hydration with how much water they drink. But drinking water does not automatically mean you're hydrated. Hydration happens at the cellular level. It's about whether water can actually get into your cells and stay there long enough to be useful. And that process is controlled by minerals, or also known as electrolytes. Things like sodium, potassium, magnesium, they all act as gatekeepers. They regulate fluid balance, nerve signaling, muscle function, and even your energy production. So if you're low in these minerals and many others, you can drink a lot of water, but your body can't hold on to it or move it where it needs to go. So this is where people say, I drink water all day and I'm still thirsty. Or I'm peeing constantly, but I still don't feel hydrated. And that's not a water problem, that's a mineral problem. And this is also where we start to connect into cellular energy. You know, your mitochondria, your energy factories depend on proper hydration at that cellular level. And if that's off, energy production is less efficient. So now you've got fatigue and brain fog, poor recovery, all tied back to something as simple as hydration gone wrong. And there's also some interesting emerging work around something called structured water or exclusion zone water. Basically, how water actually behaves inside the body at the cellular level. But the key takeaway is this. Hydration is not just about what you drank, it's about what your body can actually use. So if water alone isn't enough, minerals are what make hydration actually work. I'm going to keep this simple. Sodium. This is the one people are most afraid of, but it is critical. Sodium helps regulate fluid balance. It supports your nervous system. So if you're low, you might feel fatigued, lightheaded, even more anxious or on edge. The next one is potassium. This works closely with sodium. It helps pull water into your cells, which is where hydration actually matters. It also plays a role in energy production. So low potassium can show up as fatigue, weakness, poor recovery. And then magnesium. Most people are low in magnesium. Magnesium is involved in hundreds of processes, but for your purposes, think relaxation, sleep, and bowel movements. If you're constipated or you feel wired but tired, magnesium is often part of that picture. And then one thing to keep in mind, these minerals do not work in isolation. They all work together. So it's not just about getting more of one or another. It's about maintaining a balance. If one of them is off, it can affect the others. And that's where we start to see more complex patterns. Now, here's where this all connects. If you're low in these minerals or they're out of balance, your body can't properly absorb water or hold on to it or use it at that cellular level. So again, you can drink plenty of water and still feel dehydrated or constipated or fatigued or anxious. And this also ties into digestion. Your body needs minerals, especially sodium and things like zinc, to produce adequate stomach acid. So if you're low in those minerals, you may also see some bloating or reflux or poor digestion. So this is why hydration and minerals are really not separate conversations. They must go together. And that's when the hydration and minerals can really start to show up in those symptoms. Like, I already mentioned stomach acid. Your body needs minerals, especially sodium and zinc, to produce that adequate stomach acid. If you're low, that can show up as bloating, reflux, feeling full quickly, or food just sitting in your stomach like a rock, because it actually is. And so now layer this in. A lot of people are drinking large amount of fluids with their meals, trying to be healthy. But what that can do is dilute your stomach acid, what little you do have, even further. So now you already may not be producing enough and you're weakening it further. And that combination then leads to poor digestion. And now let's talk about the other end, constipation. This is where I see a lot of frustration. People say, I drink water all day and I'm still constipated because it's not just about the water. If you don't have enough minerals, your body cannot properly move fluid into the colon. So the stool stays dry and the movement slows down and you feel kind of stuck. So hydration is not just about intake. It's about movement. It's about whether your body can actually use that fluid to keep things moving. So if you're bloated or dealing with reflux or constipated, and your strategy has been to just drink more water, that's probably why it hasn't worked. Now we can connect this also to something else most everybody relates to, which is energy, because a lot of people assume fatigue is just about sleep or stress or being busy. But there's another layer most people miss. Your energy is actually produced inside your cells, in the mitochondria. Think of them as those tiny power plants. They take fuel and water and minerals and convert that into usable energy, known as ATP. But here's the key point. They cannot function properly without proper hydration at that cellular level. And they especially rely on minerals. So if you're low in sodium or potassium or magnesium and many others, your cells can't move fluid sufficiently and energy production becomes less efficient, which shows up again as fatigue, brain fog, low motivation, slow recovery. And this is also where people often try to fix fatigue with more stimulation, more caffeine, more pushing, more supplements. But if that cellular system is underpowered, you're just forcing output from a low battery. The simple takeaway is this: if hydration and minerals are off, your energy will be off, no matter how much sleep you get or how many supplements you pump in or how much caffeine you pump in. Doesn't matter. So let's look at this from another angle. So stress and anxiety, they don't just happen. They also use up resources. When you're under stress, physical or emotional, it doesn't matter, your body burns through minerals, especially sodium and potassium. So now you've got a cycle. You're stressed, you deplete your minerals. Now you're low on minerals, your body feels more stressed, and it just keeps feeding on itself. And it's like an escalation ladder. And this is where people get stuck. They feel wired but exhausted, anxious without a clear reason, or like their system just won't settle down because their body is trying to regulate without the raw materials it needs. And if you're just drinking water on top of that without replacing those minerals, you can actually make that imbalance worse. So again, it isn't just about hydration. It's about breaking that cycle, supporting your body so it has what it needs to actually come out of that constant stress state. So now let's make this practical because understanding this is one thing, actually applying it is what really matters. Start your day with water and a pinch of salt. You've gone all night without fluids and hydrate because mineralized water is better absorbed by the body. Next is your overall intake. As a general guideline, I recommend 1 to 3 ounces per inch of height. And that's a starting point. It's going to vary, of course, based on your activity level, your stress level, and how much you're sweating. Now, quality also matters. If you're drinking tap water with chlorine and other contaminants, that's really not ideal. Filtered water or spring water is going to be a better option. You don't need to overcomplicate it, just be aware of that. And then there's timing. You want to space fluids between meals. Small sips with meals are fine. The body is able to catch up. So keep it simple and keep it consistent. And remember, hydration is not just about water. If you don't have the minerals to support it, you're kind of missing the opportunity there. So that's one part of all the foundations. So for a lot of you, just applying what we talked about today will make a noticeable difference. But if you're still dealing with symptoms like fatigue, depression, constipation, feeling off, that's a sign that there's maybe a little bit more going on. So your symptoms are signals, and sometimes we need to look deeper to understand what your body actually needs. And that's what I do in my one-on-one work with clients. But start here, and in the meantime, let me know your questions and comments. Until next time.